Nice to see so many of you here. Heath Tortorella is home on a school delay, so Howie Trout is here, and he's here to welcome you on behalf of the Village of Rhinebeck.
Thank you. As was said, Heath Tortorella's home. 2-hour delay today due to the snow, and he has to put his daughter on the bus at 9:30. So he asked me to fill in. I'm Howie Trout, the Deputy Mayor of the Village of Rhinebeck, and I'd like to welcome everybody here to the Village of Rhinebeck, Tree City, Village of Rhinebeck, and welcome to the beautiful historic hotel here, the Beekman Arms. There's always things going on here in the village. I don't know if you've heard about our tree issue. We had a big meeting last night. Joel was there. It lasted a long time, but I just wanted to give you the facts. Central Hudson is going through the area every 4 years, and they trim the lines, and they offered the Village of Rhinebeck at a reduced rate to cut down 114 trees. We on the village board knew that was not a possibility, but so what we did was we all looked at each tree individually, working together, and we came up with 21 trees that could be cut down. They're mostly dead trees. So none of them are here in the downtown area. So we're going to have another meeting next Monday night, 7 o'clock, if anybody wants to come to talk about this public meeting. And I invite everybody to come. I would also like to congratulate the hospital on their recent expansion. And it's a beautiful building. We as village officials and town officials toured the building. I'm sure some of you also toured the building. And it's a beautiful expansion, much needed. I'd like to stress the importance of attending functions like this. Just last year I came to this function and I spoke with Ron Hicks of Dutchess County, and networking with him, I told him we were having problems with getting money from FEMA for our dam project down here, which was not destroyed, but had some problems after Hurricane Irene. So we were having a problem with FEMA getting the money. Ron Hicks sent us in the right direction, sent us to Senator Chuck Schumer, and we got the money a couple months later. So I'd like to thank Mr. Hicks for sending me that way. And I just wanted to also stress the importance of coming to these functions and networking with people. So without further ado, welcome to Rhinebeck and enjoy your breakfast.
Thank you, Howie. You know, sometimes people wonder what the purpose of the Northern Dutchess Alliance is, and sometimes we wonder, but Howie, in the brief couple of minutes he was up here, touched on, I think, some of the things that are the bedrock of the organization and why we continue to strive to keep it relevant. He talked about intermunicipal cooperation, and that's one of the things that we value very highly. He talked about how beautiful in this case, the Village of Rhinebeck is, and that's one of the other things. Northern Dutchess is not Southern Dutchess, and we value that enormously. We care about our open space. We care about the way we look. We care about how we plan. So thank you, Howie, for summarizing in just a sentence or two what we think we're all about. There's some people here I'd like to introduce you today. Dee Dee Barrett is here, our New York Assemblyman. Dee Dee, thank you for coming. Ed Blundell, the Red Hook Mayor. Where are you, Ed? Not here. Didn't get. All right. He's at this table along with Heath Tortorella. And we were expecting Kevin Cahill, but there was a last-minute problem. And I think there's somebody here from Kevin's office. No? Okay, she's here too. And we were expecting Scott Cruikshank, and he's maybe home on delay as well. Sarah Imboden, I think she's here. Sarah, thank you. Sarah is the council person from the town of Red Hook. Brent Kowalczyk, Red Hook has a great number of people here today, and we appreciate your coming out. Bob McKeon, also from Red Hook. I think it's a Red Hook contingent in the back. Ray Oberly, our very own Ray Oberly, the Clinton supervisor. County Legislator Mickey Strawinski, sitting in the back. You've already met Howie Trout, our own Dutchess County Legislator Joel Tyner. And I've never met Jesse Wolf Gould. Is Jesse here? Jesse was coming on behalf of candidate Andrew Heaney. And last but not least, Lydia Biskup, who is here representing Senator Sue Serino and Congressman Chris Gibson. Well, so we've been busy the last year, and as you see on your program, we have a couple of important projects that we've been working on that we'd like to have you learn a little bit more about. So up first is Mary Kay Verba. You all know Mary Kay. Mary Kay has been doing a terrific job for how many years now, Mary Kay? More than... Since 1994. And I worked with Mary Kay when I was with Dutchess County Historical Society and worked with her at Mills Mansion, and now I continue to work with her in a lot of other ways. So for the past year, with funding from the Greenway, the Northern Dutchess Alliance, and the Tourism Office have been collaborating on tours that are focused on agritourism, because those of you who live in Northern Dutchess know that agritourism and agriculture and open space protection is important to all of us. So, Mary Kay?
Thank you. Can everybody hear me? Yeah, I'm pretty good this morning, although my picture's a little crooked. You know, I think it's just the morning and what happens. Anyway, we've been working with the Northern Dutchess Alliance, and agriculture and agritourism has been one of our mainstays in the county, and something that we really work on every day. And so working with that Northern Dutchess Alliance, there was a grant that was sought and gotten, and they fed us some great material. So we are going to be putting together our drive tours. And drive tour 1, this will be an 8.5 by 11 booklet. That will be printed, and we hope to have them ready by the first part of May. And it's going to highlight those 3 towns and villages, and we're laying it out so that it will highlight all the farms. And Tour 2 will have Pine Plains, Northeast Millerton, Washington, Stanford, and hopefully the way it will be laid out is that a person can see the clusters of different farms and historic sites together. So if you start, we'll have a starting point, and from number 1, and if you kind of follow it, you'll be able to drive in the direction of all the farms. And you can see clusters, so one day maybe you want to do 1 through 5, and the next day 5 through 10, or 6 through 11. And so then the third tour will take in Hyde Park, Clinton, and Pleasant Valley. So there will be a description of each of the towns and villages, and then the farms will be laid out, but also the villages and some of the specialty shops that are in each of the communities and that kind of thing. This will be on our website. We'll be doing mailings on this. We'll be doing some advertising with it. Most of our advertising, of course, is in the Metro New York area, and that works really well for us. Tourism has been off the charts this past year. In 2014, I don't have 15 numbers yet, but in 2014, visitors that came to Dutchess County spent $508 million. So it's yes, you can clap for that. I think most of all in Northern Dutchess that has a real impact with people coming in and spending money. That generates over $28 million in sales tax revenue. Also in occupancy tax, which actually funds our tourism office, is through the visitor tax that comes, and people that stay in our hotels pay 4%, and we get about 50% of that right now. We're going to work on getting a little bit more of that so that we can do more. I'm not a real financial person, and I know we got some great financial people in the audience, But if I invest $1 million and I get a $508 million spend, it's a pretty good investment, huh? I kind of like to do that. So I think it's a good investment, and it creates jobs. We employ over 9,000 people in the tourism industry in Dutchess County, and that continues to grow. For an example, this year, for some of our historic sites, the museum at FDR had almost 200,000 visitors. They haven't seen that in a long time. Beekman, I know it's down in southern Dutchess, but they have over 90,000. 30% of those are international visitors. So we're really reaching out, we're making an impact, and people are knowing that we have a lot of things that are distinctively Dutchess that create a great tour for here. So we're continuing to increase our ag tourism. We're working with our farms this year. So this drive tour and these tours are really going to add to that because we know we are a drive destination. But the other thing that we do is we do work with Metro North. And since 2007, we brought almost 7,000 visitors up from New York City on Metro North for our farm fresh tours. Last year, we had 20 tours with over 900 attendees, and they're spending on an average of $87 per person beyond their train ticket. And I'll just give you an example. We had one farm here in northern Dutchess. First time the person had the farm on the tour, a little nervous, wasn't sure what was going to happen, but in 45 minutes, people that were on her farm spent over $1,500 in product. So they're spending money, and this year we're happy to announce that we're going to be working with Amtrak as well. And we're going to try Amtrak. We're going to be doing an additional focus on northern Dutchess. And with that, we're going to be doing 22 tours this year, but 12 of them are going to cover northern Dutchess. And we're visiting the following northern Dutchess farms this year that we've added. Some of these are new to us. Some of them have been on our tours before. So we have about 50% repeat customers that are coming, so we have to give them something new in order for them to keep coming back. So we've been out a couple of weeks ago. We visited every farm to make sure that they had places for the buses to turn around, parking, nobody would get stuck on mud roads and that kind of thing, and bathrooms. So that's worked really well. We're also going to be visiting these additional farms. We are kind of moving into Columbia County just a little bit because it's just a mile and a half away. And we're working with Columbia County Tourism on this, and they're helping to support what we're doing. So people are coming up, they're enjoying the farms. We get about a 90% enjoyment rate. They love coming out and talking with the farms. There's always an educational component to these. We always have the farmer come and meet the group, give a little bit of a lecture, whether it's a beef farm or an organic farm, or we have a wonderful a program at Montgomery Place where they did a whole thing on bees and creating honey and that kind of thing. Folks love this, and they just come up, and we've had meetup groups, we've had single groups, we've had international folks, we've had alumni associations that have come, and we're getting a really diverse mix of what we're doing. So that's a little bit about what we're working on with Northern Dutchess. We even this is one of the things we're going to increase as well is if you go on our website, we have different itineraries that people can look at, and we're going to be also creating and expanding our field to fork itineraries to include these Northern Dutchess tours that we have. So we really thank Melody and Marianne and Mary and Greg. Michelle, Greg, sorry. Early. Sorry, Michelle. But thank you for your 6 a.m. Email this morning. Everybody's up early, working early. So we're working really hard with y'all. We want to expand and continue to work on this. And any thoughts or additional information you might have or any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, any questions for Mary Kay?
Any plans for Viking tours to run rigs?
Actually, we don't have any docks that are really big enough for those boats, but we do have some cruise boats that come up the Hudson River. Of course, you know, I don't know if any of you are aware of the SS Columbia, which is a major old-time paddle wheel that they brought over from Detroit, Michigan, and there's a group that's raising money to put that on the river, and that will probably have overnight capacity as well. But we have about 2 or 3 cruise ships right now that come up, Some of the cruise ships can't come up here because our bridges aren't tall enough. And that's even, a lot of times too, people want to get some military vessels up here, and our bridges just aren't high enough for them. But Viking cruise would be nice. Any of them would be nice. Grand Circle, the rest of them. But we're working on that. Yes.
This isn't a question, it's just a comment. I think this is spectacular. This is just so cool and such a great indication of the wonderful area that we're lucky enough to live here, that we can take these tours just, we wake up in the morning and say, hey, let's go do it. But what a great thing, for our friends, family, and just the whole world. And then for people to know, too, and really get in touch with where their food comes from, and I really appreciate it.
Well, you make a good point, because I don't think Mary Kay emphasized enough that also one of the aspects of the driving tour is to highlight these farm-to-table restaurants so that they're becoming recognized, and also the craft beverage people that are now expanding in Northern Dutchess. And I know the Barones are here from Hyde Park Brewing, and Kenny Migliorelli is here, and he's not only a great farmer, but he's going in the craft brewing direction. So maybe you guys would like to share a moment with the audience about what you do. Put you on the spot. Well, go ahead.
Hyde Park Brewery, my name's Richard, Barone, my wife Angela. So we've been here for 20 years, and we've utilized some of the local farms for our own dishes. So that's a real appeal to people when they come to our restaurant. So we're excited about expanding that, and look forward to this line. It's great.
Where's Kenny?
And we have spoken to Ken.
Oh, good. See what I mean about the cross-municipal cooperation?
Well, I'm new to the tour also, so I'm a little nervous. But, like Mary Kay said, tourism is the largest entity in Dutchess County, and agriculture follows. So combining both of them is great. Pulling people out of the city to come up here is a great idea. And the brewery has been a nice addition to the farm. I'm not brewing, actually. We have a brewmaster. My goal is to just grow more green out here. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
Well, and we have had quite an expansion in our distillery and brewery business. I mean, we've got 3 more breweries on tap. We just have another person that just bought 80 acres down in the Grange for a distillery, and will be making Scotch malt in about 3 years. So you really can drink your way through Dutchess County, but do it safely. But the other part of that is it also has created some other tours. We have 2 gentlemen right now that are starting, hopefully within a couple of weeks, a new business called Craft Brew Tours. They bought a bus, and they're going to be talking to many of our farms and our distilleries and our breweries to pick people up at the train station and take them on a tour and bring them back. And hopefully that will then go into some overnights. We also were just notified by Metro North that they actually are now going to start putting a couple of zip cars back at the Poughkeepsie and Beekman train stations, and hopefully that will expand. So there's a lot of expansion going on. There's a lot of cool things that are happening in Dutchess County. If we could just get more snow in southern Dutchess for Special Olympics next weekend, I would not lose sleep. So there's a lot of good things, a lot of things working with Dutchess. And what we're also trying to do is get our restaurants, when they are using local products, put down on their menus where the local farms are from. A great example of this, Blue Stone Bistro just did that, went to a whole local menu with all his distilled products and everything, and every farm's listed on this menu. So that's working, and Hudson Valley Restaurant Week's coming up. A lot of restaurants in the area are part of that. So eat, drink, be merry.
Thank you, Mary Kay. Northern Dutchess Alliance is going to stay committed to this project, and going down the line, once we see how this first phase of it works, we're going to step back and with Mary Kay and others look at whether or not any parts of this can be adapted for the group tour audience. Some of these roads are not really quite up to where we'd like them to be for big buses, but there may be some aspects of this that we can begin to market as group tour operations. And that, the more people we get in, the more people we get shopping in our stores and visiting our restaurants, the stronger we are in Northern Dutchess and our economy. Before I forget, you have, because I'm going to introduce next Lori Husted, who's going to talk about the other project we've been working on. But because we've been so successful in our projects, we're looking for some input from all of you. And you have cards on the table. And we want to hear from you in terms of what you think are important issues, concerns, opportunities in Northern Dutchess that we can be thinking about and looking to partner with other organizations. So as we continue through the meeting, please take a chance to look at this, think about it. If you can't think enough today, then take it with you and send it back to us. You can get our address off our website. But we want to hear from you because we want to increase our ability to really enhance Northern Dutchess. So next, I'd like to introduce Lori Husted. Lori is the chair of the Red Hook CAC, and she's here to tell us today about the project, which is Solarize Northern Dutchess.
Thanks. I'm wondering if Mary Kay remembers where we last ran into each other on a very special tour at Bard. Yes? How would you say? What were you touring that day?
I remember that we met.
Okay. Oh, come on. Cups of water. We were flinging cups of water on a parking lot. I thought, we have a permeable parking lot installation at Bard, a new example of green infrastructure. It's part of a suite of features, and Mary Kay tossed her water to help christen the new lot. So another good thing for a tour. We have wonderful things in our region, and one of the wonderful things is lots of sun, and it feels like a good thing to try and take advantage of that sun and make our communities thrive. And make it more affordable to live here. So Solarize Hudson Valley offered us a chance to do a Solarize campaign, and Northern Dutchess Alliance embraced that opportunity as something that would really bring the community together in another way besides the tours. And the Red Hook contingent knows well that we have tried to organize our community in the past over sustainability projects. The 10% challenge we tried in 2010, and the year that progressed from there. And it was hard work to get people to do things that were good for them, that we knew were good for them and would save them money. And we learned a lot, but what I think I learned most was when this Solarize project came along, that it had a lot to offer in terms of external organization that our volunteers could play into. So it was a structure and a format that I felt like, as a volunteer, if I'm going to invest my time in something, this was a good thing to go for. So towards the end of last year, we decided to go for it. And let me just tell you what it is. You all have a flyer on your desk because I tend to leave out important details. Solarize is a not-for-profit community education and group purchasing program that makes it easier and more affordable for households and small businesses to go solar, including farms. So I talked about sort of the 4 things that attracted me to it. The first being community education, which again is so hard to do. And the way they accomplish it is what you see on the front is workshops. We're lucky enough to have 7 communities that signed on with us under the Northern Dutchess Alliance umbrella. You see them on the back. That would be Rhinebeck, Red Hook, Town of Rhinebeck, Town of Red Hook, Town of Pleasant Valley, Town of Milan, Town of Hyde Park, Village of Red Hook, and the Village of Tivoli. And there will be a chance for people to come out to each of these communities at least once and get a community workshop. And at those community workshops, you'll have the expertise in the room to help your community member make a good decision about whether they want to put solar on their property. The second component of the campaign is group purchasing discounts. That's what we're going to be working on, hearing about tomorrow. We have, from 3 o'clock to 8 o'clock, we have back-to-back interviews with 6 or 7 people who want to do this, installers who want to do this program for us in Northern Dutchess. And we'll figure out which is the best value for our community. They're all, as I said, pre-qualified. They're all good firms with good equipment. And now we try to decide which firms can offer the best program to the Northern Dutchess area. Even though just the 7 communities have liaisons who are working directly with the Alliance, anyone in Dutchess County can sign on to this program. The third component, so we have the community education, the group purchasing discounts, the pre-qualified installers I mentioned, and then a clear deadline for action. So the 10-10 challenge that we did in Red Hook to reduce 10% energy and get 10% of people involved was sort of a year long, and these campaigns are 4 months. Ours kicks off, as you can see, March 5th and runs through the end of June. So you're giving your community members a clear deadline for benefits. There's a lot of, I have a quote for solar on my own home, and I've been hemming and hawing and trying to decide whether to go forward with it. But with this program, you know you have to make the decision. And so people are much more likely to act. The other, backing up on sort of why I thought this was a good year for us to pursue this, is the state credits go away at the end of this year. So as we're educating people about why they should go solar now, is that's several $1,000s worth of tax credits that we'll not have it as of the end of December. So I did the who, I did the what, I did the when. So I told Sarah to wave her hand when I forgot something huge. But it's a proven community campaign, builds public awareness, it simplifies the process. It builds trust because the municipalities have endorsed it by signing resolutions. It's transparent. It's so tricky sometimes. Am I getting the right deal? Am I not? You see on the website, we'll end up with 2 residential installers, what their pricing are per watt. So you know what you're getting. You have these opportunities to get your questions answered. There's unique financing that's pretty complicated, but those people will be at the community workshops to help us along. There's a hotline, who do you trust? Are you gonna, we do have trusted installers, but the hotline is the neutral third party that your residents can call. And it saves you money. So I did leave something out. I left off the top part, which was the part I have to read because there's so many groups involved, and this is all the things across the bottom. Solarize Northern Dutchess is part of Renewable New York's efforts to help New York State transition into a clean energy future. It's a partnership with the Northern Dutchess Alliance and the Catskill Mountain Keeper, and it's supported by NYSERDA under Governor Cuomo's New York Sun initiatives, where they're investing $1 billion in solar power through 2023. And the goal is for the solar industry to become self-sustaining and to get us to 50% clean energy by 2025. So they say when I do a formal presentation, I have to say that, but that's not in the elevator pitch at all. So I thought, based on who was in the room, that you might want to do something to help. And so in running through your sort of mental Rolodexes in your communities where you may have seen solar on homes or businesses, and whether any of those people you could get in touch with, see if they'd be willing to talk about solar, and tell me. And then we get in touch, and because the key part of a Solarize campaign is the trusted neighbor-to-neighbor connections. And so networking today through the Northern Dutchess Alliance builds that connection and trust. So that's one thing. The other was I have 2 kinds of endorsements that you can make. One is as a community organization and one is as a local business. And so whether you can or not do that yourself, I'm sure you know someone who might be interested. So I have copies of those that I can hand out on the way out. You can see when all the dates of the first workshops are. If you know people who've been hemming and hawing or interested, send them to a workshop. It's better to get a call from you than a cold call from a solar installer. This is decreasing the soft costs of solar installation. That's why we can get the 10% discounts from the installers. It's because, we're doing the trusted connections in the marketing. And then, install it on your own house. But again, this is only a small percentage of people that can do solar. I think it might even be 10%. Robert, is that what Denny tells us?
25%.
25% of people can even consider with the south-facing unobstructed view on their roof, although this program does include pole-mounted. So if you're lucky enough to have the roof, great, do it now. If you're not, there are going to be projects simmering where you can be part of a solar farm. And so by getting in touch with us, we will build that network of people too. So when that next great opportunity comes along, that you'll be part of that. So there are lots of chances for volunteers to do things at workshops. We call them yard sign commandos, bakers, social media people, solar home greeters. Think about what small way or what large way you want to be involved if you're not already. What did I forget? Go.
I was going to say, if you're not sure that your house is south-facing, is there an opportunity for a free site assessment for business dollars?
Yes, indeed. You may get a free site assessment as part of this program for your home. But we really, if you're north, if you're absolutely, we don't want to sort of waste time with not good leads. So when you're talking to someone or you're thinking about your own home, orient yourself in space and time, or at least in space, and figure out where north is. It's a good exercise. All right. Homegrown solar, resilient communities, good stuff. Thank you.
Lori, I think Ray has a question.
Yes, two questions. One, check your local zoning to see what restrictions you have before you can get too involved. If it doesn't meet what you can do, you're just going to be frustrated. So check your local zoning. There is no standard. They're all over the place. Some are very encouraging, and some are not very encouraging. Okay. One item. The second one, does this program allow having standalone panels versus the ones on the roof?
Yeah, home mounted as we call them.
Yeah, but you didn't say that, so people have that option.
Oh, she did. She did say it.
I'm very soft-spoken.
Just want to be sure it was out there.
Good, yeah, the pricing you'll see on the website for our program will be for roof. Home mounted or more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My name's Greg Swansea. I live in the Rondout of Kingston, Rondout section of Kingston. We went through Solarize Kingston. I have.
You were the pilot, right?
Pardon?
The pilot
Yes.
community. Yeah.
Yes, and I have solar panels on my roof. And I'm a beneficiary of around $11,000 worth of tax credits this year, which I applied. So I can talk about this program.
Are you good? Are you
Yes.
saying you're in? Thank you.
Yeah, it works, it's good.
Yeah, I know how to find you.
Yes.
Good, yeah, it's, the value is really good these days, through the end of the year.
Melanie, may I, just since Greg introduced himself, I'd like to expand that introduction. Greg is the new executive director of the Winnicke Land Trust.
Welcome.
This is his third day, and we're very happy.
Is there an option, do they give a lease option or a buy option? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, and we're reviewing all the installers' offers tomorrow to figure out what works best, but they were supposed to provide a lease or buy.
Anyone else? Any other questions? Thank you so much, Lori. You know where to find her. So if this is of interest to you, or even something that you're not sure you're interested in, please take the opportunity to attend any of these workshops and see if we can move this forward. We have a very brief business meeting, and as you see on your program for the day, that is simply the election of officers, and then we'll move into what is really the main reason why I think a lot of us are here today, and why we keep the business short, because there's so much to say about these two gentlemen who are receiving our awards. Before you, we have a recommendation that the following people be elected for the next year as officers of the Northern Dutchess Alliance. That would be Mickey Sturwinski as president, Melody Moore as vice president, Mary Ann Johnson as secretary, and Ray Oberly as treasurer. Could I have a motion to that effect? Thank you, Sally. Second? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? I think we thank you. So before we bring up our first honoree, I do note that there are some people in the audience who've received these awards before, and I would like to acknowledge them. Harry Baldwin is here with the Farmland Protection Board. I don't know if there are others that were worked with you, but you were honored last year, I believe, for the plan. That is the plan that keeps us moving forward. Sally is here. Sally is an early recipient of one of our awards, and for much the same reasons that we're honoring John today, for the great planning work that Sally undertook and that John has undertaken. And speaking as the chair of the Rhinebeck Planning Board, I got to say, I think it's where a lot of things happen. I think it's where communities are protected. I think it's where communities grow. I think it's where people look at protecting their economic development, but I'm biased. Dawn Morrison is here. Dawn is representing the hospital that's also received an award. Sally got an award herself, but sharing an award a couple years ago was the Dutchess Land Conservancy and the Winnicke Land Trust. So these are all the people that live among us that make Northern Dutchess what it is and help us protect it. So with that said, our first award today is being presented to Dave Teeter. Now, and I hope you don't all have to be home before noon, because it's going to take that long to talk about what Dave Teeter has meant, not just to Northern Dutchess, but to Dutchess County, to agriculture in New York State. Harry Baldwin, who is going to introduce Dave, probably knows more about Dave than his wife, but we won't go there.
Really? I don't know how that came from. I would like to say before I get started on Mr. Teeter, the Farmland Protection Board, part of the new farm plan is to hire an ag navigator. I have trouble with pronouncing that one. The county executive and the county planning department are working on a mission statement for that particular position, and we're hoping it can be funded by the end of the year, or I shouldn't say funded. A person can be selected to fill this position by the end of the year. Nothing is cast in stone, but things are happening, and it's because of that new farmland protection plan. Now, the next job that was entrusted to me was to introduce somebody that needs no introduction. So, what do? You go on with it. Dave's list of accomplishments is really quite lengthy. And I'd like to add a few things before we start on that, maybe some lesser-known facts about Dave. It's clean, I assure you. Dave was raised on a dairy farm in the Finger Lakes region of New York, and somewhere along as a teenager, he and his father were talking about what Dave's ambitions were, what he was going to do with his life. And Dave announced to his father, "I want to help farmers." So with that, off he went to Cornell. Graduated in 1965 with a strength in agronomy and farm management. And this Dutchess County has certainly been fortunate to be the recipient of these efforts. After Cornell, Dave wanted to head right out to help farmers, but Uncle Sam had another idea. Uncle Sam took charge of his life for 4 years. For 3 of those years, he wound up in Germany in a command position as a captain with the U.S. Army. After returning from leaving the Army, he signed on with Herkimer County as a agricultural extension agent. Times have changed. In those days, Dave was an ag agent. Then in 1972, Dutchess County was searching for a new ag agent. Our longtime friend Don Rogers was moving on to higher ground, and Don recommended to the board of directors, well, there's this guy that I know up in Herkimer County. Why don't you contact him? Well, they did, and the rest is history. Dave came down here, and he started in 1972. And he spent the rest of his life here. Dave has wife Louise, and he has 3 children who all reside in Dutchess County at this time. And grandchildren. I think he told me there's 5 grandchildren. We can't forget that. Dave's first love is working with farmers. There's nothing better than to be out on a farm, feeling the soil, or what's your problems? You know, what can we do? What can we do to advance agriculture both on your farm and in the community? Dave has done radio shows for quite a number of years. He was doing 2 every day, and they were live shows. It was, I got to tell you, we'd be on a trip somewhere going to, I don't know, Timbuktu or whatever, and Dave would look at his watch, and, well, in 10 minutes, we got to find a telephone and stop and do a radio show. He had them spotted all over. He told me there's one in Middleburg. He knows right where it is. And he timed it so he can stop. As technology moved on, we went to cell phones. All he'd have to say was, pull over. I got 3 bars. I got to do my radio show. And it was great listening to the things Dave talked about. He just covered all sorts of subjects, but things that were either part of agriculture or of interest to agriculture. And good many people, especially farmers in the county, because at that time of day, most farmers were in their barns milking cows. It was very popular. Dave was good at organizing tours. We've been out to New England with him. We've been down to Lancaster County. The Town and Country Day tours at Cooperative Extension and Dutchess County Chamber of Commerce, or at that time it was the Poughkeepsie. It was a 2-year cycle. 1 year, the tour would cover farms in the country. In the second year, it would go to businesses in the city of Poughkeepsie. The town tours generally would run 6 buses, and those buses held between 40 and 50 people, so it was an extremely popular event. But even the city tours generally would fill 3 buses, and that went on for quite a few years. I've been in the county a little bit longer than Dave, and it was going back in the 60s. That Town and Country Day thing was going. You know, in those days, people figured, well, you know, the farms are out, they're always going to be there, and, you know, let's go out and see them. But the assumption was that farms will always be there, and a little bit aside, we know that today is not the case. All the time Dave was out working with farmers and talking with people, he's dispensing unbiased information, let me put it that way. I won't say Dave is not opinionated, but he's unbiased. I got to say that about him. Never daunted by another task needed doing. I'm not just sure when it was. Dave was president of the Pine Plains School Board for 10 years. This was probably back sometime during the 70s. After that was over, he's looking around, well, what else needs doing? Oh, town of Stanford, they need a new supervisor. Hey! Off he went for 12 years. On the New York State level, Dave has been president of the New York State Ag Society. It's a group not unlike Northern Dutchess, except it covers a whole state. And they have a annual meeting, usually in Syracuse. Dave was president for 2 years. I think as vice president, he was in charge of doing the programs for that session. And then last year, he was awarded the Distinguished Service Award by the New York State Ag Society. And this is a very prestigious award. Locally, Dave's been involved with various Dutchess County boards, including Northern Dutchess Alliance, the Farmland Protection Board, Dutchess Putnam Westchester Farm Bureau, and not last but not least, the Dutchess County Dairy Committee. This is a group, it was actually an outgrowth of his program committee when he left Extension Service. And it was Dave's idea, while he was an agent, to start this milkshake booth at the fairgrounds. The reason for starting the booth was Dave had this idea that we need to help educate our young folks that are going into agriculture. So as a result, I'm not sure when that started, 70s? Somewhere in the early 70s. Dave got it started. It was just a small tent out back of the 4-H building, and slowly the thing has grown, and right now we're doing somewhere around 22,000 milkshakes a year. And it's become quite an icon, but all that money goes to scholarships. Well, there's a few other things that the committee does. We fund 4-H trips, and some money goes to the FFA in Pine Plains for their show. But the biggest part of it, and I think this year, there's $11,000 we've got booked for scholarship money. There's a $2,000 scholarship for first year, and then as long as you stay in college, you can get up to $1,000 a year for the next 3. So I'll throw that out as a little bit of a pitch to keep your eyes open. The guidance counselors are all aware of this, but if you're going into an ag-related field, you should be talking with a guidance counselor. And with that, Dave Teeter.
The Northern Dutchess Alliance is proud to present this 2016 Commitment to Community Award to Dave Teeter in recognition of his long-term devotion and dedication to our community. Thank you, Dave. And we have a number of certificates here. I'm not going to read them all, but Marcus Molinaro sends his congratulations. Senator Sue Serino sends her congratulations. Chris Gibson sends his congratulations. And Assemblywoman Dee Dee Barrett, who's here and who will speak.
Actually came in person.
And we're going to give Dee Dee an opportunity at the end of the meeting to say a few words. So Dave, what would you like? Please.
There you go.
Thank you, Harry. Thank you, everybody. Mom told me once that she asked me, what do you want to be, a farmer? And I said, no. I want to help farmers. And I was a teenager when that happened. And but she also told me, do whatever you would like to do, because if you enjoy your job, you'll never work a day in your life. And I've enjoyed my job. Now I'm getting emotional. Now it's unusual for me, but anyway, it's nice to see all the friendly faces here today. Some of you I haven't seen for a few years. I am a little shorter for the time being, but soon I'll be back up on both feet and walking again. But no, I do appreciate this recognition. I know my work has done some good things for the farmers and farmland in Dutchess County, and it's I really appreciate this. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave Teeter.
Thank you, Harry. Thank you very much. Our second award today is going to John Clark, and it is the Charting Our Course Award, and it's going to be introduced by Mickey Strowinski.
It's a privilege to be able to introduce John Clark for this award today. John Clark was Development and Design Coordinator for the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Development in Poughkeepsie, New York for many years until his retirement in 2015, which we hope you're enjoying, John. He is a charter signing member of the Congress for New Urbanism, active since 1996. This organization helps create vibrant and walkable cities, towns, and neighborhoods where people have diverse choices for how they live, work, shop, and get around. His work ranges from regional and community scale planning to site plan design alternatives and transit-oriented development. John is the principal author of Greenway Connections, a model Greenway compact program with illustrated design guidelines for Dutchess County and Hudson Valley. He also developed the Centers and Green Spaces concept and was instrumental in helping the town of Red Hook adopt its Centers and Green Space zoning. John was a graduate degree in urban design, has a graduate degree in urban design from Platt Institute in Brooklyn, and has taught at Vassar College Urban Studies program. As was mentioned before, he also serves on the Village of Rhinebeck Planning Board. We particularly want to stress John's work on the Greenway Guides and Centers and Green Spaces project, as these have been instrumental in charting our course in Northern Dutchess. And John's work continues to chart the course with the insurance of 7 new Greenway Guides, which we encourage the towns in Northern Dutchess to adopt. And Melanie, if you could help me with this.
John, come on up. We'd like to present you with this year's 2016 Charting Our Course presentation. And the same bunch of citations are here for you. Michelle just pointed out to me that it wasn't by design, but by accident. We are presenting awards today to people who were instrumental in creating these very important programs. Tell me again, Michelle.
Oh, I just was commenting to Melanie a moment ago that we're really honoring the 2 people who have been the most instrumental in working on the concept of centers and green spaces. We have John, who's done brilliant design work for many, if not all, of our municipalities, for the centers, for the villages. And then we have Dave Teeter, whose work has been devoted to protecting the farmland and the green space. So we're really presenting awards to people who represent that very important concept for our region.
And for real lifetime achievements. These two gentlemen, like I said, we could be here until noon telling you how important they are to the protection of Northern Dutchess. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Very nice. Well, thank you. This is a real honor, and especially coming from Northern Dutchess Alliance, which is a group I highly respect. I did work at the County Planning Department for over 30 years and worked with every community in Dutchess, many times over sometimes. And I have a high respect for local government. I've actually been on the Rhinebeck Planning Board, Village Planning Board, for 15 years or so. And so I've seen sort of the both sides from a regional perspective and from a local perspective. And I sometimes say that I actually accomplish more, I think, on the ground, getting things done as a local volunteer 2 nights a month than I did putting my whole heart into working for Dutchess County full time. Because in New York, as everybody knows, the power is at the local level. Land use, design, all starts at the local level. The county has the right to recommend, has the ability to persuade and educate, but it has virtually no power. And so that imbalance is what I think groups like this try to address. All the money is at the state and to a certain degree at the county. And the local governments who have all the power have almost no money. because they have to take care of roads and all the basics of local government, and they have very little money for actually doing public purpose work. So how do we sort of address this imbalance? I think it's sort of endemic to the state, and it's a real problem. And I don't expect home rule to go away or the tax structure to change. So how do you deal with this problem? And I think what the county planning department and other groups like this have been trying to do is to bridge that gap, to make local government work by providing funding from above. And the governments that actually do work, the ones that are most successful, people who are in this room know this, I think, are the ones who who learn to work with the county and the state to bring some of those monies, some of the money that you send up, bring some of that home. I think that's what the Greenway's been about. I'm proud to have worked on trying to establish that in Dutchess County as an institution. I urge you all to go back and sort of read Greenway Connections again. It's 15 years old. And rededicate yourself to working together, to bridging those sort of community divides, work with the county and the state government. There's really incredibly dedicated and smart people with the county planning department who go underappreciated by many people, I think. So that if you really want to work together to make your communities whole, I'd say learn to work outside the box, work outside your local governments. You retain the control, you have the final say, but there are a lot of good ideas out there. And for a final sort of endorsement, I'll say go to the county website. There's a new Centers and Green Spaces series of pages on the county planning website that I think will sort of unroll a new way of looking at Greenway, a more specific way of looking at Greenway, that we've seen great success where it's been implemented, and particularly in the town of Red Hook and in the city of Beekman and other places. So thanks again for the award. I really appreciate it, and I'm still looking for things to do in my retirement. So keep me in mind. Thanks.
And Assemblywoman Dee Dee Barrett would like to say a few words to the Assembly.
Thank you all, and congratulations to Dave. I didn't know about the milkshakes. That like elevates you to a whole new level. And John, thank you for your vision. I'm a longtime fan of the work that you've been doing, and I think it's really incredible that the Northern Dutchess Alliance has continued to take this leadership role. You know, watching Mary Kay's presentation there, if we don't maintain the beauty and the open spaces and the balance that we have here in Northern Dutchess, none of that, people won't come. That's what they're coming here to see. And so what you're doing here is such an important kind of triage of the treasures of this region and the agricultural history and legacy with economic development and, you know, and with smart growth principles, because as you know, Dr. Handler can tell you, every one of our school districts is losing students, so losing population. So we need to be attracting young people to this area. We need to grow our population in a smart and intelligent way, but we need to maintain the open space that makes us so unique and that feeds our families every single day. So I just really want to congratulate the two honorees, but especially the Northern Dutchess Alliance for the incredible work that you do, the vision to have started this organization, but to continue doing it, because this work is more critical than ever. As the economy improves, the threat of development will continue, and we need to be vigilant, and we need to be sure that we have plans in place in all of our communities to protect the things that we love, but also help them be the economic engines for a successful, sustainable future here in Dutchess and Dutchess County and the Hudson Valley. So thank you all very much. And please don't hesitate to contact my office. Erica Kane is here, who's my district director, for anything that you need, because as many of you know, these issues are my passion, and I am really committed to ensuring that we have the future here that we want for ourselves and for our families and our children. Thank you.
Thank you, Dee Dee. While both of our honorees did receive commendations from the county executive, Marcus Molinaro, I did want to take a moment to pass on his regrets for not being able to attend the breakfast. Like the village mayor, he had a youngster to get on the bus this morning and a family obligation. The Northern Dutchess Alliance is very near and dear to his heart, as he was very much involved in the founding and early successes. But I do want to convey his deep appreciation and admiration for both John and Dave, who he fondly refers to as Pop.
I introduced him once as one of my sons. He was a mayor of Tivoli, and nobody in the room of supervisors, and we didn't have mayors at that time, no Dutchess County supervisor knew him. So I said, he's my son.
So in closing, let me first say that we appreciate your being here today. Your attendance is indicative of the level of support and respect, and it requires nurturing. It's my great honor to stand before you this morning as the newly elected president of the Northern Dutchess Alliance with a full understanding that the strength of this organization comes from an impressive history of leadership, professional guidance, and the commitment of its active members. And I would like those active members to just raise your, past and present, to just raise your hands and let everybody know who's been involved in this organization. Okay, thank you. Yeah. My sincere thanks and admiration are extended to Melody Moore, Michelle Gregg, and the other members of this board. As I've been determined to do as the Democratic caucus leader at the county legislature, first and foremost, I will listen, then take back your comments and concerns. It's an exciting time for the Northern Dutchess Alliance, as you can see with the two initiatives that were presented here today. But also because we're going to be embracing various forms of technology through social media as a better way to keep our members up to date with the mission of the Northern Dutchess Alliance. But more importantly than that is going to be this one-on-one outreach that I'm committed to making. Over the next few months, we will be evaluating the comments left on these cards today, and we'll be reaching out to the various representatives that make up our membership. So with that, I wish you a great rest of the week and look forward to speaking to many of you in the future. Thank you for coming.